6 दिनों के अंदर हम बहुत बड़े स्तर के ऊपर और दिल्ली में बेड्स की व्यवस्था करेंगे, उनसे ऑक्सीजन की व्यवस्था करेंगे, दवाइयों की व्यवस्था करेंगे। इस लॉकडाउन के समय को हम इन सब चीज़ों के लिए इस्तेमाल करेंगे।
दिल्ली के अनेक व्यापारिक संगठनों ने आज से 25 अप्रैल तक और कुछ संगठनों ने 21 अप्रैल तक दिल्ली में बाजार बंद करने का निर्णय स्वयं अपने आप लिया है।
Good evening, everyone. I'm Shivani Gupta. Lockdowns are back, and at this stage, there seems to be no other option. For quite some time before this wave got as bad as it is now, constant appeals were being made for people to be careful. Yet visuals from most cities showed COVID-appropriate behavior had gone for a toss. Since fear of COVID was not working anymore, enforced lockdowns are the only way to keep people at home, and even now it is a challenge to enforce proper behavior. This is, of course, not to say that state governments were not lax. They were, in fact, in containment, testing, tracing and isolation. All of us would know examples of how people having positive patients in their homes were still roaming around. Health infrastructure was not ramped up enough. It was fine till we were on a war footing till June 2020. After that, even states that were never really out of the woods had become completely lax. This is a joint responsibility, and we must continue to come together to ensure that now that the lockdowns and curfews are being imposed, they are successful in breaking the chain. So follow the norms. Otherwise, we are doomed to have these curbs continue. Here's a quick check, first of all, of where all mini lockdowns have come into effect, even if states are not calling it that. Remember, in Maharashtra, the entire state has lockdown-like restrictions barring essential services, although it is more lenient than what it was in 2020. Similarly, in Delhi, a mini lockdown has now been announced for this week, expanding the terms of what was for weekends alone. In Madhya Pradesh, there are lockdowns in many cities like Bhopal and in other several areas of many districts. These are hyper-local in some of the worst affected areas. In Kerala too, restrictions have now been expanded till the end of the month, though these are not much stronger than night curfews for now. And in Chhattisgarh, where Raipur had become the first city to go into lockdown this year, the lockdown has been extended and also extended to 3 more cities. In UP now, Allahabad Court has ordered a lockdown in 5 cities. We'll wait to hear from the government officially. So on the show today, traders leaders join us to talk more about their views, even as they extend their support to lockdowns. They were, of course, the major community because of whom governments were very wary of imposing lockdowns. What more can governments do for them? And how can we all come together to make sure that we make these lockdowns count? Joining us on the show, Reena Gupta, the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, Tom Vadakkan of the BJP, Praveen Khandelwal, Secretary General of the CAIT, Vinod Punjabi, Secretary of the Hazratganj Traders Association. Thanks a lot for joining us. I want to go across to Praveen ji first up. You had talked about how many traders had voluntarily shut shops. This is, of course, a very difficult decision for you. You've got many small shopkeepers who rely on their daily income. They employ people who rely on their daily income also. Just give us a sense of how hard this decision has been for the traders in Delhi.
Hello.
Yes, Praveen ji, go ahead.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Okay, let's sort out his audio. Vinod Punjabi, if I can ask you the same question. In Lucknow, for example, a city that had seen a lot of rise in COVID cases, traders had come together to say that, okay, we will shut shops voluntarily. आप खुद से कर रहे हैं, ऐसा decision क्यों लिया?
Yes, there was a spurt in the cases of COVID, and this sudden spurt came as a shock, as a rude shock rather. And as citizens, we all are human beings first, citizens thereafter, and whatever profession we follow in life comes later. So first and the foremost is the human lives. So in the interest of the health of the employees, the traders, and most importantly, our customers who come to the market. So to decongest, the way forward we thought was that we as citizens should also do our bit and at least start decongesting the market. So on 14th evening, we took a decision to for a self-imposed lockdown, disciplined lockdown, in which we would be following the uh, essential services were still on, and the deliveries and distributions were on. Though we had put the entire halt on all the marketing or the which causes the rush in the market. So all
But will you
the
concede,
shopkeepers came
Punjabi ji,
together.
will you concede that we are in this situation because COVID appropriate behavior was not being followed in markets earlier?
It is not so, ma'am. COVID protocols were being followed, but with the passing time, as in when the cases gradually decreased, it's a human nature that it's not just the traders, but citizens at large.
Yes, I mean customers too.
Yeah. So they see everything. After all, in the society, there are only two ways that a person would follow something. One is out of fear, and the second is when they themselves feel willingly do it. So the fear had diluted, and somewhere the within the heart for everyone to follow the discipline of the
It was not
protocol was not
possible.
there.
It was not
That's
possible. मैं आपसे एक बात और पूछना चाहती हूँ. प्रवीण जी हमारे साथ दोबारा जुड़ रहे हैं. How are you taking care of your workers? Or do you expect something from the government as some sort of a package for traders especially?
So is Praveen ji answering this, or do I answer
Okay,
this?
let me go to Praveen ji on this. Praveen ji, what are the challenges for you? You have obviously shown the initiative to shut shutters in Delhi also. Now, of course, there's a lockdown. In Lucknow, for example, court has ordered a lockdown now. We'll wait to hear from the government. But what are the challenges for you? And do you feel that some sort of a package should be announced by state governments for you?
Yeah, the biggest package is that, as I have said in the day earlier, that one day closure of businesses in Delhi is costing around 600 crores of rupees business. Whereas if I take the various restrictions in across country, we are losing a business of 10,000 crores per day. So that is a loss of business to the traders, and of course the loss of revenue to the government. Over and above, there is a big question of the survival or the livelihood of the employees who are working with us.
Yes.
In the last COVID lockdown, as per the directions of the government, we have paid everything to our employees. We have not deducted even a single paisa from their salary. But what happened? The government announced various packages, but not even a single rupee was given to the traders as a package.
Okay.
So now at this point of time, when we are again at the verge of lockdown, now definitely we would be looking at the government
Okay.
for providing us some kind of package. That is point number one. But the most important thing is that in April month there are so many compliances of GST and income tax which needs to be extended. The first
Okay,
and foremost thing, I have already written a letter to Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, stating out on almost 20 types of compliances under GST and around 12 to 15 types of compliances under income tax.
All right. I
If
take
it-
your
if
point.
we-
Can
if
I
we
bring
fail
in the
to-
government representatives here? Let me go across to Tom Vadakan first up. This is, of course, a responsibility that will be shared both by state and central governments. But because GST and IT comes under the central government, Tom Vadakan, now that lockdowns are coming back, we'll have to relook at this. Because ultimately, the businesses that are considered non-essentials are the ones that continue to suffer.
Shivani, you're right. I mean, business is suffering and will suffer. The point is, representations are being sent to the finance minister, and I think the organizations have already sent their requests, and it will be all looked into with serious concern. And whatever need to be done will be done, because this is a government which cares for the people, cares for the business houses and business community. And I'm sure when they voluntarily come forward to close their establishments, it is in a good spirit that we are all together in it, because this is a fight for lives of our citizens. This is not a question when your customers are alive, then you have business. So let us keep the customers alive. Let us keep the business alive. So I'm sure the government of the day will cooperate with this association members.
Okay.
And I'm grateful to them that they have voluntarily done what they have done.
Reena ji, what about the Delhi government? What can you do about traders in the national capital? Because as of now, there is no national lockdown, but you have gone for a 6-day lockdown. What can you do? What are the assurances from the Delhi government today?
Shivani, the Delhi government will make sure that anything which is needed by the traders is provided to them. And I think one of the best things that the Chief Minister has always said is that we actually do not want lockdowns. And we've always believed that lockdown is not a way to deal with COVID. COVID is here to stay. The only way to deal with COVID is to vaccinate the population of Delhi as soon as possible. So we've been writing to the central government, and we will continue to pursue it with the central government, that every adult in Delhi should be allowed to be vaccinated. Bring down the vaccination age, allow us to open as many centers as possible all across Delhi, in every gully and mohalla of Delhi. You know, in
Madam,
every
vaccinations cannot quite be done like that. You need a 30-period monitoring. Already we are witnessing that people are queuing up for remdesivir, and there may not be that kind of a need. I mean, what I'm saying is that let's focus on what we can do right now. There is a reason why age bars exist in many countries and in India too. We have to first vaccinate the more vulnerable. Not very high percentages have been vaccinated so far.
Shivani, what we are seeing, Shivani, one has to always look at data. What we are seeing this time around is that 60% of the people who are coming to hospitals are less than 45 years of age.
Is that particular to Delhi? Because the ICMR says that's not the national trend.
I have no idea. I can only talk about Delhi.
Okay, so, no, but I'm telling you, ICMR has said that quite like the first wave, it is a misnomer that younger population is getting affected more. I will, of course, present more data on this in a bit. But can I, ma'am, ask you, what is it that you can do, for example, for the migrants also? An appeal has been made by the Delhi Chief Minister, but we are seeing some queues at the bus stations and the railway stations. So, are you prepared for that?
Absolutely, Shivani. You know, as you said, the Honorable Chief Minister has made an appeal that please do not leave Delhi, please stay in Delhi. And like the last time around, this time around also, the preparations are being made to start providing ration to the migrant laborers, and also to provide free cooked meals to all the migrant laborers who will, a lot of them will lose their livelihood because of the lockdown. So the Delhi government is prepared on all aspects to help every citizen of Delhi. And during the lockdown, we are also working very hard overnight to increase the bed capacity and to increase the ICU beds, the oxygen supply, the medicine supply. And that is the reason why we've done the lockdown only for a very small period, because we feel that we should be able to ramp up our capacity of the health infrastructure in Delhi, and hopefully things will become better. But again, I keep coming back to the same thing. COVID is here to stay. We need to vaccinate as many people as possible. And through your channel, actually, I want to appeal everybody, please go out and get yourself vaccinated. That is the only way to fight with this virus. I mean, we need to see what is happening in other countries. America has already vaccinated more than 50% of its population.
No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
It has.
No, only about 20-25 have received 2 doses.
But at least the first dose has been given to more than 50% of the population.
No, it hasn't.
Shivani, check the data again.
No, it hasn't been, ma'am.
No.
So even if America has not, that is the way to go about it.
And it is registering many high cases for its population. Please read the data properly. 60-70,000 cases are coming in America even today. For its population, it is high. Please do not project vaccination as a silver bullet. COVID appropriate behavior and testing and tracing of contacts is the mantra still.
All of it, Shivani.
Yes, all of it together. Vaccinations alone are not the mantra. People vaccinated are getting it again, madam. Okay, but Tom Vadakar wanted to come back.
No, Shivani, I need to correct you over
please,
there.
please finish. Okay, 1 second, let her finish.
Let us not say that people who are getting vaccinated are getting it again. That is very wrong information to give out.
No, if they
People
don't
who are-
mask up, they still do get it, ma'am.
No,
That's true.
Listen, Shivani. Yes, they are getting it, but what the experts are advising is that vaccination reduces hospitalization.
Yes.
It reduces fatality.
Yes.
So don't say that don't get vaccinated because we are
I'm not
even
saying that at
vaccination.
all. I'm saying that
That is
vaccinated
why I'm trying
people
to
also
correct
need
you.
to mask up.
Absolutely. But that should not stop us from getting vaccinated.
Of
That's
course
all I'm
not.
saying.
There's no question of us stopping from vaccination at all. Tom Vadakan.
Well, this question of vaccination that was raised by the spokesman of Aam Aadmi Party, I want to inform her that 100 million people in this country have been vaccinated. That too in 85 days, faster than US, okay, and China, which took 89 days and 102 days for vaccinating the same amount of people.
Okay.
Now the target is to vaccinate 300 million individuals by July. We are facing a shortage of manufacturing because both the companies combined
Have a limited capacity.
have 66 million doses per month. So we have a limited problem here. And if
Allow me
it
to
is
respond,
distributed,
Shivani.
if it is distributed to the correct age and people who need it and not people who want to get the health secretary has clearly clarified this Aam Aadmi Party's propaganda of cut and paste. I didn't want to be bitter on this. They have followed the Maharashtra model. They remembered about oxygen only when it was raised in Maharashtra. They remember about the
Okay,
medicine.
I want
This
to
is
move
cut
ahead
and
from
paste.
vaccinations. Today, I wanted to focus on the fact that the trader community also is coming together to support the governments. Let's make use of these lockdowns. Let's break the chain in an efficient manner. For that, everyone has to come together. I'll give the final words to our trader community guests who are joining us. Mr. Punjabi, first to you. I have 30 seconds each for both of you. What is your, your request to everyone, the government also and the customers also today?
So the first appeal would be to the public at large. Is to take care and follow the protocol. That is the mask, to wear a mask, and keep your hands clean, and maintain social distancing, and avoid crowded places. That protocol has to be followed by public at large. This is my appeal to the public at large. And for the government, we would request that since it's a pandemic, and government should take care of the business community as well. It's, in way of relaxing the fixed charges which are levied upon the business houses.
Okay.
Be it the local taxes like house tax, water tax, or electricity fixed charges, and
Okay.
some relaxation in the ESI, PF as was given earlier, so
All right.
that they are able to sustain and
Yes.
tide over this
Sustainability of businesses have to be looked into because they are, of course, the worst affected. They are managing to pay their salaries, but of course, that's putting a lot of load on people. And a larger request, of course, to not really let anyone go without salaries at this time when lockdowns are coming back. Unfortunately, I've run out of time. I do thank all of you for joining us. But a quick reminder of how the second wave is different or similar to the first wave. Remember, a lot of misconceptions were being spread. So here's the data that the ICMR has released. And according to this data, to say that the younger people are getting affected more is not true. This is data out of hospitalizations that they have studied across the country. So young population is only marginally affected more, even though it is out on the streets, unlike the first wave. The higher proportion of asymptomatics have been admitted. Like I said, this is hospitalization data. We'll have to wait and see why asymptomatics are getting more admitted in this wave. Can we manage that better? More patients are showing breathlessness as a symptom, which is why oxygen demand is greater in this wave than the first wave, while ventilator demand is lower in this wave than the first wave. So finally, the big point to remember is that the older population, those above 40, continue to be more vulnerable. As many as 70% of them are the ones in the over 40 category. And big other data that has come out is that right now there is no difference in the percentages of death. So mortality rate is actually under check in India. Please don't be worried. If you take enough precautions, you can get better and beat COVID. We're also getting some breaking news now coming in. AIIMS sources have told News 18 that Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister, has contracted COVID and he's actually now admitted to AIIMS. This is, of course, concerning news coming in. He's also, of course, very aged. Let's go across to my colleague Runjhun Sharma joining us for more on this. Runjhun, any more details we have about this health situation?
Shivani, AIIMS hasn't said anything officially as yet. They haven't rolled out a health bulletin of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Remember, he was only admitted at AIIMS around 5 in the evening today. But what we're learning from our sources is that he's stable, but he needed medical attention, and which is why hospitalization. He's been, in fact, taken to the AIIMS COVID center. And he will be monitored there by, of course, a team of doctors. Dr. Manmohan Singh, remember, is also 88 years old. So, having said that, he has more complications. He, in fact, did get his vaccine dose. But again, like we just pointed out, that he's 80 years old. He's
Runjhun, we'll try and get a better line with you. Now, amongst high-profile politicians who've already contracted COVID comes the news of former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, 88 years old, also contracting COVID. This is what AIIMS sources are confirming to us. Of course, we'll wait and see exactly what the exact situation is. We are waiting for an official release by AIIMS in the national capital. And of course, we are expecting that because we are getting to know that Manmohan Singh has been admitted to AIIMS, there will be some regular briefings as far as his health situation is concerned. Remember, as my colleague was mentioning, he had taken a vaccine jab. Remember, your immunity does not kick in unless you take 2 jabs, and even after that it takes time. It is limited immunity. You can still get it, which is why I was just mentioning, even if you're vaccinated, continue to maintain COVID appropriate behavior. It does not mean you can go out without mask and all. Runjhun is back with us. Runjhun, any initial idea you're getting as to how he contracted it? Was he out and about for political reasons or something else?
It's very difficult, Shivani, to put a finger on how he contracted the virus. But what we can tell you is that Dr. Manmohan Singh is 88 years old, like we were pointing out. And the reason why he's admitted to All India Institute of Medical Sciences is because he's been showing some signs of and he needed to be monitored by a team of doctors, and which is why they deemed fit that he would be admitted. What we're learning is that he's stable, but he's just being monitored by, of course, a team of doctors at All India Institute of Medical Sciences at the COVID center. In fact, earlier in the day, Pallavi Ghosh, our senior editor of politics, was pointing out that he was showing signs of fever as well in the morning. And the reason is when he did it to AIIMS.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. We'll wait for an official word from AIIMS. Remember, this is why those in the most vulnerable category must be vaccinated first, but must also be taken care of by the younger population. For your parents, for other elderly in your families, make sure that they are protected from the virus. They are the most vulnerable, and that is also what the data is showing. Thanks a lot for watching.